1989, Don Piper died. Well, what happened next became a story that's been read by millions, and soon it's going to be seen in movie theaters across the world. Take a look.
Don Piper was killed instantly when his Ford Escort was crushed in a head-on collision. Paramedics declared him dead, but Don came back to life. This remarkable story is now a major motion picture. Based on the best-selling book, 90 Minutes in Heaven stars Hayden Christensen and Kate Bosworth, and is coming to theaters September 11th.
Don and Eva are here with us now, and we welcome them back to the 700 Club. Wonderful to have you here today.
Honored
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Both.
Thank you very much.
We're right on the cusp of this being released. September 11th, I believe, is your release date.
It is.
I read the book again last night. Of course, I read it years ago, and I just wondered as I was reading it what it was like for you to read the book and then revisit your story again through all of this.
It's surreal, isn't it?
It is.
It's you're watching people be you.
Yeah,
and say your words and live the things that you went through. So it's really kind of a stunning thing. I don't really have words for what it's like to watch your life unfold on a movie screen.
You've had offers to make a movie of your story in the past. Why now? What made you decide to do it now?
You read some of those scripts.
I read this. We would receive scripts, and basically they did have a guy that got killed in a wreck and to heaven, but that was about as much truth as was in their screenplays. They did kind of a Hollywood version. There were a lot of things that were untrue, and we wanted to be true to the story because we want to be true to our God.
Amen.
And so we just said we will not support something that does not tell the truth.
Don, people love hearing about the 90 Minutes in Heaven because it's such an affirmation of what we believe. It's so hope-giving. But the 90 Minutes in Heaven was brief compared to the recovery time that you went through, the pain, Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I was in a hospital bed for 13 months, and I had 34 major surgeries. I had lost my left leg. It was on the floor of the car. My left arm wound up in the back seat of the car, and my right leg was crushed. I had just horrific injuries. They really never expected me to walk again, or if they were able to reattach this arm, it being useful again. So I kind of lapsed into a great depression associated with having seen heaven and had it taken away from me.
Yeah.
And then being in a really awful shape when I got back and not giving much hope for being functional again. So I really had a hard time getting through this.
Well, first they thought you died, and then when you came back, nobody expected you to be functional
Not
again.
at all.
I mean, the injuries were so incredibly severe.
Bad.
Did you ever, in the middle of that, just say, God, what are you doing? I mean, why am I here?
Yeah, one morning it came to a head. Several months in, I couldn't find anybody who I was wearing a device that had never been used before. It was a bone stretching device. They had to break my leg in another place and then turn screws on these halos of steel every day, 4 times a day. So I'm laying there one morning about 3 a.m. and I just basically raised my hand and said, I don't understand why this is happening to me. Can't you send somebody here who understands what this is like? If I could just talk to somebody who gets it. And God spoke to some music that I was listening to that morning. Very familiar Christian music, a song called Praise the Lord, another one called We Are the Reason. And here's what he said to me. You're having the biggest pity party in the history of the world. Get over it. This is not about you. It's about me and what I can do through you now I can never do before the truck hits you. Take your test and turn it into a testimony. Take your disappointment and look for divine appointments. Get outside of yourself and see how you can minister to other people, and then you'll know why you went through that. I cried all night. When the sun came up the next morning, it was the first day of the rest of my life.
Well, God had a mission for you, and you've been on it for all these years, talking to people about that 90-minute time frame. You had no pulse. You were declared dead, but that wasn't what was happening. You said the moment you died, you didn't go through a tunnel, you didn't go through a waiting period, you were just in heaven.
Took my last breath on the bridge and my next breath at the gates of heaven.
What was that like?
You know, there are 12 gates. I was at one of them. It looks like the inside of an oyster. It's a gate made of pearl. It's dazzling, beautiful. I thought it was a living gate, and I think maybe it was the light reflecting off of the gate. because it's God is light. You're bathing in the presence of God, and Jesus actually receives an additional name in heaven. He's called the lamp, L-A-M-P, of God. So I was in the light, surrounded by people I had known and loved in life, and they all look good. If we want to look good, heaven is where we want to be. And they were perfect. Some of them were missing limbs, fingers, but in heaven, everyone was perfect. My grandfather spoke to me and said, "Welcome home, Donnie." He extended his hands, and I knew where I was because I knew where he was. I was with him when he died.
Was there anything that surprised you in heaven? I mean, you're a pastor. You had read the Word. You believed that there was an afterlife.
Intensity. It was so far beyond anything that I could have imagined in terms of the sensory explosion of sight and sound and touch, even aroma. The music, it just enveloped me. Thousands of songs at the same time without chaos, because all of these songs fit together. It's simply the most real thing that's ever happened to me. This doesn't seem real anymore. That's my reality.
Wow. You know, it's even as I was reading in your book about all of it, not being able to describe the hues because they're beyond human vocabulary.
Exactly.
I mean, we can't really imagine or understand. Why do you think God let you have that experience?
Well, I asked him a lot, especially when I came back to that very long and dismal recovery. I think it's so I could tell people it's real, that I could be where they are and say to people who are lost loved ones and are dealing with people who are terminally ill, and to look at them and say, look, heaven is real, and Jesus is the way. If you want to go, you're going to have to go through him. No man comes to the Father except through him. And so I'm trying to get people into heaven, and I'm trying to help them have a better trip on the way. Because, you know, if you know where you're going, shouldn't we be having a better trip?
We should live differently if we know where we're going.
I think so. I think we should.
Eva, you've been called the real hero in all of this, because while Don was going through his own struggle, surely you were going through an amazing struggle as well. What did God teach you through this?
God taught me not to try to do it by myself.
Wow.
To lean into him, not to lean on my own understanding, but also to allow my Christian brothers and sisters to minister to me. I had a good friend that told me I'm robbing them of a blessing. And so I had to learn to let other people help me. And that's what I really pray that this movie people will walk out of, because there are a lot of hurting people out there. And we need to be watching, and we need to be friends of action who don't just say, oh, you just let me know what you need. No, we need to see what they need, and we need to jump in there and help.
Yeah, well, God spoke to both of you about that, didn't he? About letting others. I just want to mention, it's an amazing story, and we have just skimmed the tip of the iceberg here. Go see more. The movie 90 Minutes in Heaven opens nationwide on September 11th. It's rated PG-13, so you can take the family. You want to mention the book, again, re-released, and it's wonderful. It's got all kinds of updated information in it. But God bless you. We just pray the message of what you saw and heard and what God spoke to you is clear in the hearts of many who see it.
See you at the movies.
Yes, well, okay, we'll share popcorn.